Hello, hello! Welcome back to Brenda's Books.
Today I will be narrating for you Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 of Sara's War. Here we go. Chapter 4. Where is she? Blood type A, I write on a label. Blood type A negative, I write on another. I'm in the medical records room, or should I say closet, labeling blood samples. All the newcomers are required to give a sample of their blood. I'm supposed to test them and keep their blood types on record. As I'm putting files in their respective folders, my phone vibrates on my waist. I snatch it off my belt to read a blinking text from Big Rock Navy. Emergency. Go to relief. Well, that was easy. Here I am. Where else did they think I would be? At that moment, I hear some distant shouting. I stand up, my chair smacking into the wall behind me. I hope this one isn't too bad. Hurry! Get him in here! Hurry! I stumble over a box of pens as I squeeze my way between my desk and a pile of files on the floor. Where's the medic? Where is she? Someone yells. I come out into the hallway to see two young seamen of the Navy, sweating and panting, their uniforms sopping wet. They're carrying a large middle-aged man who is also drenched and dripping. All three smell of salty seawater. I'm the medic. What's happened? He's not breathing, the short one pants. Bring him in here, I say, gesturing to an empty surgical room directly across the hallway. The two young men shuffle the third into the room. How long has he been unable to breathe? I ask. About a minute, the short one chokes out, as they heft the new patient onto a hospital bed in the center of the room. Immediately I tilt his head back, blow air into his mouth, and check his pulse. Still beating. We tried rescue breathing too, the freckled one explained. But we haven't been able to get him to breathe on his own, so we brought him here. Help me roll the bed over to the ventilator, please. I motion to where the ventilator lies on a stand in the corner of the room. The two seamen promptly squat and help me adjust the legs of the bed so the rollers become free to move. After the ventilator is within reach, I test the settings quickly to make sure it works properly. I groan out loud as I realize it has not been disinfected. I point to the short one. You, breathe for him, please. He promptly obeys as I grab some hydrogen peroxide and wipes from the bottom shelf of the stand and clean the breathing tube. Excuse me, I'll take over now, I say to the short seaman. He sighs in relief and steps back. I open the patient's mouth and carefully insert the tube between his tongue and epiglottis, recalling the numerous times I had done this for soldiers in country. I turn the ventilator on, and immediately it pushes air through his lungs. Wow, that's awesome, the short one says. I smile briefly at him and check the man's pulse again. Way too fast. Something else seems to be off too. I page one of the nurses, not knowing which one. I have a feeling extra hands will be needed. Tell me what happened, I say to Freckleface. His name badge reads Seaman Franz. I yank open an old drawer under the bed and pull out a stethoscope while Seaman Franz starts babbling to me at top speed. So out of the blue, Petty Officer First Class Harrison here starts complaining about this massive headache. Okay, and then? His headache was so bad he couldn't even stand up straight. We were all confused, of course. I have the feeling this babbling is going to drag on. I lift a hand to stop him. One moment, please. I stuff the stethoscope over my ears and listen intently to Harrison's heartbeat. What is that? A heart murmur? No. Oh, no. I take the stethoscope off. Seaman Franz continues right away. Then Colonel Haskins told us to get him a bruit, I whisper out loud. What? He has a blockage in his artery, I explain. I turn to look at the seaman. Did he have any trouble with his vision or any trouble walking? Yeah, he was tripping all over the place and... I'm here. What do you need? A young female nurse now stands in the doorway. I need you to monitor this man's blood flow, I say, taking the stethoscope off my neck. What happened? Asks the nurse. He had a stroke, I say. The two seamen gasp in unison, and the nurse curses under her breath. I'm going to do all I can for him, I assure them. Just stay calm. Chapter 5. Patience and Impatience. I dash to the medicine cabinet, and to my horror I find it's completely disorganized. Heparin, where are you? At last I find what I'm looking for. I suck the heparin into a syringe, find the biggest vein I can on Harrison's arm, and ease the drug into it. "What's going on? What's happened?" I look up to see a crying, hysterical woman enter the room. Her normal street clothes tell me she is not in the military. "This is my husband! What has happened to him?" she shrieks. "He had a stroke, ma'am," I say. The woman shrieks again. "What? How? Did he drown? He looks like he is paralyzed." Her voice seems to jump an octave at every word. Whoever called her, I wish they hadn't. "Mrs. Harrison, please stay calm. It's the best thing you can do right now." She doesn't listen to me. "Oh my goodness," the woman sobs. "He has to be on oxygen? When will he breathe by himself?" "Probably when his body is in less of a shock," I explain. "Well, make him less in shock," she screams. Oh, wow. This woman is really going to slow things down. What can I say to get her to relax? I notice a tall figure just a few feet behind the sobbing woman, Colonel Haskins. I hadn't noticed his entrance. He looks very stoic. "So what's next?" he asks. Everyone in the room looks in my direction. I take a deep breath to gather my thoughts. "Well, She is not doing anything," Mrs. Harrison wails. I purse my lips and pause to let the wailing end. It doesn't. I gave him some heparin intravenously. That will help thin his blood. I need to examine him more closely to determine if surgery is necessary. Everyone in the room listens in awkward silence to Mrs. Harrison's sobs. I want to feel sorry for her, I really do, but I have too much to think about. After a long minute, Mrs. Harrison asks, "What is the blockage?" "It's plaque," I say. For a reason I can't imagine, this makes her angry. But before she can speak, Colonel Haskins cuts in. "Harrison is a good friend of mine. I'll be back to check on him." I nod. With expert nonchalance, Colonel Haskins escorts Mrs. Harrison to a seat in the waiting room. Sweet relief. "Let's get to work, Nurse Sanders," I say, glancing at her name badge. "What should I call you?" she asks. Then I remember I don't have an insignia badge on. I cringe mentally at the thought of that blasted General Granger. "You can call me Private Andrews, Nurse Andrews, Medic, whichever you want." Nurse Sanders helps me with Harrison's blood assessment, and it's clear from the CT scan that the blockage needs to be removed. Looking at the size of it, I'm surprised Harrison didn't have a stroke weeks earlier. Of course, I don't know how soon we can get a doctor here to do the surgery, and it needs to be done soon. I know his wife is not going to be happy about this. When I share the news with Mrs. Harrison, all her angst is let loose. On me. "This is all your fault. What if he doesn't recover? Will he recover?" "I don't know how well he will," I start to say. "Why don't you know? Aren't you a medical person? Fix him. Now fix him right." "I will do everything I can, Mrs. Harrison, but you have to know that this surgery—" "Why does he need surgery anyway? Why can't those drugs you gave him be enough?" Mrs. Harrison is throwing her arms up in the air, and the more she speaks, the more exasperated she becomes. "He had a stroke, ma'am. This isn't the common cold we're dealing with." "Don't you talk down to me," she scolds at top volume. "I am twice your age." I groan internally. "Mrs. Harrison, it's time for you to leave," I say, keeping my voice even. "You can't ask me to leave my own husband." Mrs. Harrison is crying again. "I'm not asking you, I'm telling you," I order, gesturing toward the exit. Mrs. Harrison stomps her foot down hard. "No!" Ugh, how exhausting she is. I grab her by the arm and lead her out the door to the hallway. Even with her protests, it isn't very difficult. She is completely overcome with sobbing again. I feel a twinge of empathy creep up inside me, but I ignore it. "Keep an eye on her, will you?" I whisper to Sanders. "I don't want any windows broken." Sanders makes a face but obeys without protest. I walk back into the surgical room. Harrison's eyes are wide open. His violent coughs shake his whole body. I dart over to him. "Can you breathe on your own now?" I ask him. Other than a grunt, he gives me no indication he knows what I'm saying. Blink twice if you think you can breathe on your own. He blinks twice. I sigh in relief. That's good. I'm not going to take you off the ventilator quite yet, but I'll reduce how much oxygen it's giving you, I say, as I change the ventilator's setting. Can you lift your arms up? His left arm lifts a few inches. How about your right arm? I ask. No movement. That's okay. That often happens after a stroke. Did you know you had a stroke? He shifts his head in a movement that looks like a negative response. Well, we're going to take good care of you, I assure him. We need to bring in a surgeon to remove the blockage in your artery. Medicine can help temporarily, but if we don't remove it, we risk the chance of another stroke. Do you understand what I'm saying? Blink once if you understand. He blinks once. This is good that you can comprehend what I'm saying. That's a good sign. I pat his shoulder and pick up the telephone hanging on the wall and dial the phone number to the main base. The receptionist on the other end of the line is trying to give me the runaround, but I'm not having any of that. There is a man who is dying here. You will put me through to a surgeon now. I'm not sure if it's what I said or my change in tone, but the receptionist complies. I only have to speak to one more secretary before talking directly with the vascular surgeon, Dr. Roberts. After explaining Harrison's situation, Dr. Roberts agrees it would be wisest to remove the blockage. He'll send me a message when arrangements are made for him to fly to Big Rock. He didn't think there would be a problem in doing so. Feeling proud of myself, I hang up the phone with a smile. "Who were you talking to?" says a deep voice. I jump in surprise and turn to see Colonel Haskins standing behind me. "Excuse me," he says. "Who were you talking to?" Dr. Roberts from the main base. He's a vascular surgeon. He's going to come to Big Rock to perform surgery on Petty Officer First Class Harrison." The colonel's eyebrows lift high. "Really? That's surprising." "What is?" The colonel clears his throat. "You do know you were supposed to get permission for that phone call?" My cheeks get hot. "Honestly, I did not know that, Colonel. Who should I have asked?" I didn't even think about needing permission. Back in Tallahassee, when everyone was bleeding around me, the medics just did what needed to be done. But of course, it would make sense for me to check in with higher authority here. I internally kick myself for such a stupid mistake. "Well, you could have asked me, but let's just consider it done, shall we?" he says. I nod, trying to will the blush out of my face, and wishing I could think of something smart to say. But all I can do is stare at the colonel like an idiot. And all he does is stare back, with that same pulling gaze he had this morning, like he's trying to pull the truth out of me again. Does he think I'm lying? Finally, Colonel Haskins clears his throat again. "I've never heard of a doctor taking requests from a medic before. Good work." Thank you," I sputter. "I'll be sure to run it by my superiors in the future. I'm sorry for failing to do so today." "Don't apologize, just make sure it happens," the colonel says. "Yes, sir," I say, my face getting hot again. Then the colonel frowns for some reason. "If it concerns Petty Officer Harrison, please go through me. I would like to know what's going on with him." "Yes, sir." The colonel straightens his shoulders. "It looks like you have everything else in order. General Granger will be pleased we have good news for Harrison." "Good day, Private Andrews," he says with a slight nod. "Colonel," I say with a salute. He exits the room. That intimidating, attractive man is gone. I sigh in relief. This whole place makes me uneasy. And that concludes Chapter 5. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you join me next Thursday for Chapter 6, Fights and Fantasies. And then you can continue along the journey with Private Sara Andrews. If you want to find out more about Brenda's books, you can visit brendasbooks.net. Until next time, take care.